Hello everyone, welcome to the Social Club. As mentioned last week, we're taking it easy for a few weeks over the summer before things really kick off. So a few specials. Last week, I sat here with Barry Cass of Toffee TV, the wonderful human being that he is, albeit, his choice of football team is suspect. But a man whose choice of football team is better than my choice of words, and not suspect.
Choice of words was fine.
It's just how I delivered them. Yeah, not so great. Hi, Baz. Chris Payjack here, of course, from the Redmen TV and Cover 2 TV as well. To Liverpool. Chris, you've had a couple of weeks off. You've had a day to get yourself back up to speed on Liverpool transfers. So should we get...
Nothing's really changed.
No, not much has moved on since you left. The question to kick us off then is, how much do you think Liverpool are likely to have to spend in this window?
Are likely to have to spend or will spend?
Likely to have to spend.
Okay, to what? To win the league? What are you trying to say? How much do I think Liverpool will spend this summer?
Yeah.
Because to win the league, it's a lot higher.
Okay. It's a different
no, that's what I'm saying. It's a different question.
It is a completely different question. What's your favourite hat?
Red.
How much do you think Liverpool... what do you think Liverpool have got to spend this summer?
I was told it was 90 million plus player sales before the start of the summer. That's what the scout teams have all worked on. I believe the person that told me that is right. So I envisage it'll be around about maybe between 130 and 150 million we'll spend this summer.
Interesting. That's a lot of money in years gone by. It's weird, isn't it? Because there's been loads of talk. You've heard people have been... It edges up. When people start to talk about it, and I've heard people edging up towards 200 million and whatever, yeah. 150 million, do you think 150 million is enough to get done what needs to be done? And I'm not talking necessarily about about fixing every problem that the squad has.
Possibly not. I think, you can just look at the Virgil van Dijk deal for a start, can't you? And go, that was probably budgeted for around 50 million. That could be between 60 and 70. That's a huge chunk. It's 10% of your 150 million, isn't it? Let's say, 15 to 20 million or whatever. So you're looking at it and thinking, actually, all right, the first major signing, Liverpool are going to massively overspend. So the budget either needs to be increased, we accept that we're going over that, or we need to cut somewhere else. I would hope we're in a position with the money that's being spent by not just Liverpool, but all the other clubs this summer, that we'll actually go and spend that extra 15 to 20 million on top, regardless.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's an interesting question here that comes in from George Dennis on the Twitter. He says, how many first team players do Liverpool need to sign? He says at least 4 for him.
Yeah, I think we definitely need a centre-back. I think we definitely need a striker, a winger. I would say that's probably it as definite first-team players.
Left-back?
I don't think we need to buy a left-back. And I think we can compete next season without a left-back. I think we've got James Milner to do that job.
With only James Milner?
No, it's first-teamers. The question was first-teamers,
yeah. But I mean, is first-teamers in somebody who's going to play in the first team?
So, all right, so someone who's in the first-team squad, we're going to need more than that.
Yeah.
But that's not the question. So I think, you obviously want a backup to James Milner. That's absolutely fine. Of course you want to back up to James Milner. You can't just go into a season with a 31, 32-year-old left-back.
Yeah.
If you want squad players, then it's more than 3. You're gonna be looking at another centre mid. I think you possibly need a right-back. Depends what you want to do with Trent Alexander-Arnold. I think you might be looking at a utility player to play wing, midfield, forward, whatever. So I personally think that, you could see Liverpool signing between 7 and 9 players this summer. Wow. And I think that's needed.
Yeah. So looking at some of the names then, this is the thing with Liverpool, they've gone very much on lockdown since the Virgil van Dijk debacle, and I can't imagine there's anyone watching this who isn't up to speed on that happened, but Liverpool effectively, for the sake of it, apologised to Southampton and removed themselves from the deal, as it were, or said they weren't going to be pursuing it. Salah, I mean, there's every chance Salah could be done by the time this video comes out. There's every chance it could be another day, it could be another week. That right now is the only transfer that looks as likely as any to happen again.
Yeah, I think so. And look, there's loads of people losing their head about it at the moment. I think the Champions League final was less than 3 weeks ago. It's 2 weeks until or give or take 2 weeks until the summer transfer window opens. I'm not that surprised. Liverpool have had to sort of put their head into the sand here, haven't they? They've been caught doing something that they shouldn't have done with Virgil van Dijk, and now they're making sure that nothing else gets leaked.
Yeah.
I think that's it. You know, we'll still be moving behind the scenes, but nothing's going to be leaked now because they're not going to be willing to take any chances. Get the stuff done behind closed door. I don't understand why you would leak it anyway. If I'm perfectly honest, if you're the club, I think it's insane. I think it's absolutely mental. What value did the club have from leaking it? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't think the club. There's no way the club have leaked that just based on that, because there'd be nothing to be gained from it. But yeah, there is very much a thing where maybe it's more loose lips sink ships as opposed to that. Maybe it wouldn't shock me if a lot of people who are maybe involved in it have kind of gone, you know, those casual conversations that you might take home with you, everyone stops them because they're probably the ones that are causing the
and that's right. And there'll be
situation.
someone from the top down who'll be looking at it and go, make sure that everybody knows that this goes no further than this room at all times. And that's the way it should be done anyway. And that's the way I prefer to see it done, because I hate getting suckered into clicking things and all this clickbait that's going around the internet. It does my head in. You know, I just want to be able to. And you know what the worst thing about it all is? And we live in this world and we talk about it all the time. It gets me down because we talk about it so often that I'm at the point where, before I had a couple of weeks off away with the family and that, I've sort of spoken about the same players every day for how many weeks? And it's like, how can you... Liverpool need to sign someone here because it's mental, but it's so far away from the window
feels
being
like
even
it's
open.
been going on for so long and it's been talked about so much that there won't even be a celebration when that signing, or if that signing's completed, because it feels like, well, that should have been done. You know what I mean? That's the awkward situation. It'd be interesting to know people who are watching at home, fans of other clubs, how your fan base are reacting to the window at the moment. Because I did a video over on my channel this week, and how the City have signed a couple of players, United have signed one. Like Spurs haven't signed anyone. Yeah, Chelsea haven't signed.
How are they reacting to it?
Exactly, because it feels like everyone's, you know, maybe it's just, I think it's actually amplified by social media as much as anything else. I think most people are probably just getting on with their lives, aren't they? But the people who live on social media, if you live on Twitter, you'd get that wound up, because if you don't see an update every hour on something, you get pissed off because your Twitter's boring.
I must admit, I've stopped taking notice of the footy at the moment. I watch the Criterium de Dauphiné of the cycling. I've watched the US Open this weekend just gone. I switch off to footy over the summer. When something happens, I'll read about it. Yeah. It kind of happens.
Just getting back to the players that Liverpool have been linked with, and I mean, a lot of this is carried over from what we saw as the top targets at the end of the season, the ones that were most talked about. Oxlade, Chamberlain, Naby Keita are probably the other two that, although things have gone a bit quiet on those, you'd still imagine that Liverpool there'll be movement, as you say, behind the scenes a little bit, if not maybe bids in straight away. I feel anyway that there's an interest.
Yeah, I mean, look, Paul, you know better than me. You spoke to Melissa Reddy from Goal, didn't you, last week? And she was talking about Naby Keita being Liverpool's #1 target this season. That ain't going to have changed. Nothing. There's no football been played and no signings have been made. So everything that we knew at the end of the season still rings true, pretty much. Unless you're talking about there's an opportunity where somebody becomes available that Liverpool may change what they're going to do because of that. Yeah. But Oxlade, Chamberlain will still be on our radar, I think. Naby Keita, as you say, behind closed doors, we'll be moving to try and get these deals done. They might be moving pretty slowly. They might be moving quicker than we think. We just don't know at the moment. Nothing's happening. Liverpool have shut the lips. Yeah,
I think the hardest thing on the Keita thing's likely to be that there's no interest from Leipzig to make this transfer happen. Yeah. So if Liverpool are going to make something happen, it could well have to be something big or something special to make that
and that's it. And look, Leipzig aren't short of money, but they might not offer as much money as we can to Naby Keita, and this one could rumble on all summer, and we could have to get into a position where I don't think Liverpool have done this enough over the years, where you essentially unsettle a player and you make them have to hand in a transfer request. Liverpool's got the pulling power to be able to do this. You know, we're back in the Champions League. Obviously, it's only the qualifying. We need to get in there proper. It could be that after that, he makes a decision, because right now, would he be willing to give up Champions League for somebody who's just in the qualifier? You don't know, do you? So it could rumble on all summer. I know that Jurgen Klopp wants to get players in as early as possible, and it makes sense as to why. But would you be... It's like cutting off your nose to spite your face in this instance. If he's your guy, and you can only get him at the end of the season, is it worth moving down to your number 2 target? Klopp might think it is,
well,
but I don't think it will be.
I think it'd be interesting to see how Liverpool work in this, because last summer the very clear ethos was business done early, business done soon. I want people in for pre-season. And by and large, they kind of did that. I know Wijnaldum joined up on the American tour. Klavan did toward the back end of that as well. But by and large, they got business done early, and they were prepared to move on from targets. They weren't prepared to wait until the end of the Euros for Keita to decide what he was going to do, etc. Do you think we might see a shift away from that, though, this summer?
I think so. I think Klopp's got a much clearer idea now of what he needs. And I think that when you're trying to... He was a few months into his reign, wasn't he? You know, maybe 6-7 months by the time the last season rolled around. This time, he's not teaching an entire squad what to do. Yeah. He's teaching 1 or 2 players, and I think you can do that in a much shorter period. Yeah. Obviously, there's going to be tactical changes from last season to this season, and there could be some big parts moving into them. You know, when you're talking about maybe, look, if Van Dijk comes in, a centre-back partnership's massive and it needs to work on, he's one of the ones that you would want in as early as possible. When you're talking about maybe a centre midfielder, I'm not sure. I think they'll need training, but I think it's a lot easier for him towards the back end of the window to get them up to standard.
Yeah. In terms of what do you think's likely to be the biggest transfer saga for Liverpool, is it as simple as Van Dijk, or again you've said Keita could be a drawn out one?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is going to be Virgil van Dijk, because as much as Liverpool have said he's not moving, until he moves somewhere, Liverpool are number one on the list, because essentially he wants to come to us. Yeah. So and Southampton, fair play to them. I think they've handled this really well, and I would like to see more Premier League clubs do this, because I said in the podcast, and I said on a stat show ages ago, if we know that they've agreed terms before the clubs have agreed, it's happening up. Sort it out. There's time this week where we'll go on to talk about this in another show later, where you're talking about rule changes in footy. Clamp down on this, because there's no need for it. Go and speak to the club, get something agreed, do it properly. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't like the way that Liverpool have done business on this, to be honest with you. I would like them to go and agree a fee with Southampton first. It doesn't change anything. It just means that
Southampton in a better bargaining position.
Exactly. So it would have been easier the other way around for me. You can still get the player to agree.
Yeah, maybe. Out Sturridge?
For the right money. I think Klopp likes him, doesn't he? I think that my views have massively changed on him since the end of the season and stuff. And
what do you mean by likes him?
I think Klopp likes him, thinks he's good for the squad, and thinks he's got a place in this first team. Not maybe as a number, out and out every week he's going to be our striker, but in that first team squad that we were talking about, there's definitely a place for him to fit in. And if you're not going to get what he's worth, then he might not sell him.
What's he worth?
I think he's worth 25.
Interesting. One kind of out there.
Like mastermind this.
Yeah.
Not just going to be a conversation.
One kind of out there shout has been Aubameyang.
Yes, please do it now.
Yeah, 70 million euros.
Yeah, sounds.
Just
fuck Van Dijk off. Get him in.
Well, that's actually, interestingly enough, Blaine Agard actually asked the question, who would you prefer, Virgil van Dijk or Aubameyang? You actually went the other way on this, on a show we did. I think didn't you go with Van Dijk? No. You went with Aubameyang?
I didn't give my answer. I asked you to the question.
Very good.
Yeah, it's Aubameyang.
It's Aubameyang
all fucking day.
I mean, he's 28 years old.
Give a shit.
He's amazing at football.
Yeah, boss.
You did pose a question at the time about if it's not part of Liverpool's plan, if this is something that's just has literally dropped in, do you think Liverpool have the ability to go, you know what, I'm not a big fan of that plan? I like the plan that's got Aubameyang in it instead.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, first thing you're doing is you're onto PayPal for some working capital, aren't you? We get emails off them all the time, like, just get some in. 70 million, yeah, sound, nice one, cheers. Hicks, Gillette, can you lend us some money? Need 70 million quid. Not got it. We screwed them out of it. No, just get it done. Get Aubameyang in. Worry about it later when you've got 40 goals in the bank from...
Yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of thing for me, is that a couple of the... It's not sensible, but then...
Who cares?
Exactly.
I just want to go and watch great footy. Yeah. 13-14 was a marvellous season.
I'm a big fan of Klopp's mentality that I can take a player and make him better. So I don't want us to jettison players season on season because they've not been amazing one year. I like the notion that he's going to take guys and go, no, well, give me another pre-season, would you? Give me another season. I'll get more out of them. In the instance of Divock Origi being a good example of that, and one or two others. But the top teams, if Liverpool want to compete at the top level, there's a couple of things. It's sending a message to football that says we're in for the top players in the world, convincing one of them to actually come, which sends the real message, but also saying it's far easier to develop young players when they've got amazing players to play with on the training pitch every week.
And look at the Coutinho a couple of years ago when he had Suarez, we had Sturridge playing at a high level in front of him, was top notch. You lose Suarez at that side, you take a little bit of dip out of Coutinho. We took a little bit of a dip out of Sterling as well, I think, at the time, whenever Suarez wasn't in the side, certainly. So that's the easiest thing. You can look at those players, they change games, they create space for other players on the pitch. You got Suarez there, Coutinho's getting more space, Sturridge is getting more space, everybody else looks better. Plus they're learning the entire time. That's what you want. Liverpool for too long for me, and I've said this before on Ball Street, this FSG model, I want it to work. I really, really, truly want it to work. I want us to win a league by buying younger players and developing. I'm not sure we can. I'm not sure without a couple of those world-class players that we can do it, or we're going to have to wait for some of our younger players to develop into world-class, and I don't think the fan base can wait long enough for that to happen.
Yeah, that's the problem, is it's toxic at times, isn't it, in terms of the build. No, you're right, and I think you can jumpstart people a bit further up by having one or two of those players, and provided they fit in, and you'd hope with someone like Aubameyang that at least Klopp will know what he's getting from that. It's far easier, I think. Let's look at the Mbappe stuff as an example. You're talking 100+ million, and that's all in hypothetics as well, by the way, for an 18-year-old kid. And look at him, he's a phenomenal talent. Anyone would love to have them in the squad. But there's still loads of unknowns. He's 18. He's not even finished developing his personality yet. Name me a footballer that's genuinely got personality at 18. I know he's very good at his knee slides and looking dead cocky and all that, but I've spoke to 18-year-old footballers and they're like rabbits in headlights a lot of the time. With Aubameyang, you're getting a fella, and you get a fella who he's worked with day in, day out, and no, Klopp doesn't like necessarily working with guys again. He kind of said that early on in the season. I think you get less of a return in terms of how many years you're going to get out of a guy at that age, but I think it's more of a calculated risk when you know in depth the person that you're looking to buy.
Yeah, it's got to be, because look, I think he worked with him for 2 years. I think he was better under Tuchel than he was under Klopp. But with the right pieces around him, you got the pace of Mane, hopefully Mo Salah as well, and then throw in Aubameyang's pace. It's frightening. Yeah. That's the best front three.
Potentially the best front three in the league, certainly, and then
it's definitely the quickest.
Yeah. Right, let's get into some of your questions then. We actually send them in. At Ball Street on Twitter. Ryan Smithlar, if the Aubameyang rumour is true and he joins, do you think Liverpool should be aiming for a title?
Yeah, of course we should. We should be aiming for a title regardless.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought that last season we had a shot at it. Around Christmas time we were doing really well. We had a terrible January. It's going to be much harder next season because of the Champions League football, because we've got players who aren't used to doing that. And when they had that tough run over January, they did struggle with the 2 games a week. We didn't have the big enough squad. That's what this summer's about. It's about addressing that. It's about making sure we're in a position where we can go and field a good side every single game.
Is there a fear that we might fall into the trap that we did after 13-14, where okay, there's a massive difference between a squad that loses a player of the quality of Luis Suarez. I do feel anyway that Liverpool are genuinely more on the up in terms of this squad and what have you. But we don't want to underestimate the impact of playing it. If we want to be competitive in the Champions League and in the Premier League, that's a tough ask for teams that do it year in, year out.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for us. Of course it is. I would hope that it would bring our players on even more. We've seen it last season. We saw last season even that we can play against top sides. If we draw some top sides, I think Liverpool can do well against them. I thought that after 13-14 and we didn't see it. Yeah. But we lost Luis Suarez. With all the pieces still in place this season and adding those extra bits of quality, there is no doubt in my mind that in one-off games of football, Liverpool can beat the best sides in Europe.
Yeah.
it's what worries me is the Premier League form off the back of it.
Yeah.
And I think the Premier League still has to be the target.
Yeah.
There's no flight to fancy here where you think go and get the Champions League unless it presents itself somehow and you end up somehow in the quarterfinals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, it's Premier League all day.
Yeah, absolutely. Joel Hermanson 9 on Twitter. Why were we even talking to Van Dijk? There must be players in other leagues that are at the same level for half of that price.
He's boss. Yeah. He's boss. He plays in the Premier League. We know he's good. He sorts our defence out.
It's a ridiculous amount of money, though.
Okay.
No. But taking the care aside, that is, to effectively double your transfer
records don't matter. It's you've got to look at the rest of the players of his ilk and what they're moving for, you know what I mean? Gigi Buffon was a ridiculous sum of money at 33 million in 2001.
Yeah.
Does it look ridiculous now?
No, true.
So you can't judge a transfer before it's even happened. You judge it after 10 years of it happening, and then you decide whether it was worth money or not.
Yeah, no. It's good. The thing on the Van Dijk stuff for me is that it's kind of, maybe it's an excuse making to some extent, but if again, it's all hypothetical and how likely we just don't know. If you got Van Dijk over the line and you spent, let's just say, arbitrarily £50 million, and he forms a partnership with Joel Matip, well, I'd look over 2 seasons worth of business and say, well, you pick Joel Matip up on a free, and you pick Van Dijk up for 50. If you've built a top quality centre back pairing for 50 million quid, by and large, and I'm oversimplifying. Yeah, maybe this.
I don't think Dejan Lovren was a waste of money at 25.
No.
So, I think he's still got a place in this squad. I think he's had a good season. He's not been our best centre-back by any stretch. I think we can do better.
Yeah.
We spent 25 on him. Let's put it into perspective. Van Dijk is a very, very, very good centre-back. He's not worth 70 million. He probably is worth 50 to 55.
Okay. And Dixon87, do you think we are taking too much time with transfers, and what do you think our target should be next season?
It's hard. Again, these transfers have rumbled on since February when we've known about this list of players. Yeah. So it feels like, well, look, it's been 4 months now. We've not got anything over the line. We're not able to buy anyone until the 1st of July. So we can't be accused of taking too much time when we're still in negative time, as it were. It's mental. It's absolutely, it's insane.
Is it made harder by Everton went and secured 3 signings last week? Man City got 2 bits of business done out the blue. United are starting to make moves, etc. Is it just jealous glances, or are people right to get a bit wound up?
No, look, if one of those clubs had signed one of the players that we wanted, then I would be questioning it.
Yeah.
But nobody's moved that we're after.
Yeah.
So we've not taken too long.
That's a good point. Yeah. And targets for the season?
First. We got to target
what
first.
Represents, of course, but what represents a good season for Liverpool?
Tottenham fans will tell you that putting the pressure on is decent, and I would like to put the pressure on. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I know, really and realistically, it's make sure that Arsenal and Manchester United aren't in that top 4 again.
Yeah.
And kill those clubs off.
Yeah.
And I would continue to make that my target for the next couple of years. And then, hopefully we're in a position where we can actually go and win the Premier League. Yeah.
It's daft, isn't it? When we've given Arsenal fans and Arsenal abuse for years. And I did a video on it when just to lift the lid, we were just taking the piss. Because it's funny to wind people of other teams up, isn't it? There's nothing wrong with finishing the Champions League places. For Liverpool short term, a couple of years of getting into the swing of being a Champions League club, and it sounds that Liverpool should. Here's the thing: every club that enters every competition they're in should feel that they're trying to win it. Now that sounds like a ludicrous statement because Huddersfield are not going to win the league next season, but why not? Because they've not got the squad. Because they've just got to go in and play football matches. They've got to win football matches. Any team can win any football matches. Just about putting strings together. And whilst it's highly unlikely that Liverpool will have a really good campaign on multiple fronts next season at a first run at it, we should be aiming, as you say rightly, aim for the best. And if you fall short of the best, then you've normally done okay. Liverpool can get out the groups and put in a strong showing in the top 2 or 3 places in the league. That would represent progress, and that'll be okay.
Silverware be progress as well.
Silverware, absolutely, completely agree with
Been
that.
too long, mate.
So yeah, if you want to know more on Liverpool transfers, of course, come to the Redmen TV and subscribe. I'm not sure who's going to be on this next week, but if you want to check out Barry from Toffee TV talking about Everton's transfer prospects, see how many he was dead right on, by the way. Watch that video.
He knows his stuff, Barry.
He does know his stuff. Subscribe to the Ball Street YouTube channel on the road to 100,000 subscribers. And don't forget, the Fan League Cup is coming. Teams are being unveiled left, right and centre, and Ball Street are looking for players. So if you want to get involved with Ball Street FC in the Fan League Cup, just do it. Do it now.